The pharmacy door clicked shut, and that sound lingered in my ears. Inside the plastic bag, the receipt rustled softly. That day, for the first time in 7 years, I came face to face with my former son-in-law and my grandchildren. Bruises on their little arms, trembling voices, I couldn't say a word. I held it in, broke down inside, and in that moment, I knew I had to protect those children myself. Let me tell you what led me to that decision. You're listening to Silver Story Tree, where the voices of life's late chapters gently bloom again. Subscribe, like, and turn on the bell to hear more heartfelt stories that grow with time. The automatic doors at Songnhae Station clicked open, and a cold wind slapped my face. I clutched my plastic bag tighter, the pharmacy receipt inside crinkling against my fingers. The sound of the receipt reminded me of dried leaves in autumn, brittle and telling. I stepped into my snack shop, embraced by the familiar smell of frying oil and the bubbling sound of broth. My old recording device made that distinctive beep once when I pressed the record button. Just in case, just for today. Through the glass door, I spotted him. Do-yoon, my former son-in-law, standing there with his delivery bag slung over his shoulder. Next to him stood 2 small figures, my grandchildren, their hands nervously gripping the sides of their winter coats. 7 years. It had been 7 years since my daughter's divorce. And there they were, right outside my shop. My heart drummed against my ribs as I pretended not to recognize them. At 68, I've learned that sometimes, the best reaction is no reaction at all. I wiped my hands on my apron and straightened my back. The children looked thin, paler than children their age should be. Do-yoon pushed the door open, the little bell above it jingling. He avoided my eyes, but I saw every detail of his face. The stubble on his chin, the dark circles under his eyes, the way his lips pressed together in discomfort. 2 bowls of udon, he said, his voice lower than I remembered. His gaze shifted nervously, unable to settle on my face. The eldest child, Seo-woo, stood slightly in front of the younger one, as if shielding her from me, or perhaps from the world. I nodded and moved toward the kitchen area, keeping my voice steady when I asked, "Did you bring them straight from school?" I was fishing for information, checking their return time against what I already suspected. As I prepared the noodles, I noticed a faint bruise on Seo-woo's arm. Not the kind children get from playing. The kind they get from neglect. From accidents that happen when no one is watching. Bok Nyeo from the laundry shop next door leaned close to me while I was ladling broth into bowls. She whispered, "Those kids were standing outside until late last night. All alone." I kept my face neutral, but inside, a storm was brewing. The time on the pharmacy receipt in my pocket didn't match the school dismissal time noted on the children's daily planner that peeked out from Seo-woo's backpack. Something wasn't right. Do-yoon paid quickly, then abruptly stated, "Just kimbap next time." He turned to leave, ushering the children ahead of him. As they walked out, Seo-woo looked back at me, her eyes holding mine for just a moment. In that fleeting connection, I saw a question. A plea, perhaps. My phone buzzed in my pocket. An automatic backup notification from my messaging app. And suddenly, I knew what I had to do. This wasn't just a chance meeting. This was the universe giving me a second chance. To protect what my daughter couldn't. To be the guardian these children needed. The udon broth continued to simmer on the stove. But the shop felt colder somehow. The sound of rice being washed in cold water echoed through my empty shop at 6 in the morning. I moved through my routine with practiced precision, rolling kimbap, slicing pickled radish, wiping down counters. Each motion was automatic, leaving my mind free to process what I'd seen yesterday. The bruise on Seo-woo's arm. The inconsistent times. The thin jackets in December weather. These thoughts circled in my head like hungry birds, pecking at my conscience. Bok Nyeo came in through the back door, the hinges creaking in protest. She held her phone out to me, showing a CCTV screenshot she'd saved before her system automatically deleted the footage. "Look," she said, pointing to the timestamp. 10 p.m. Those children were standing in front of the building. No adult in sight. I studied the grainy image, noting their thin clothing against the bitter winter night. My heart contracted painfully in my chest. I scrolled through the KakaoTalk parent group chat on my phone. saying nothing but absorbing everything. The last message my daughter had sent before leaving flashed before my eyes. Her final farewell to the other mothers. Was I being oversensitive? Was I seeing problems where none existed? The doubt crept in like a fog, clouding my judgment. Maybe Do-yoon had a good explanation. Maybe the children were fine. But the doubt evaporated when I compared the prescription date on the medicine bag with the school attendance record I'd glimpsed. The times didn't align. The story didn't add up. Customers drifted in and out, their conversations washing over me in waves. I caught fragments about Do-yoon's situation. Something about his mother being ill, about mounting debts. Gossip traveled fast in our neighborhood. Poor man, looking after 2 kids alone, one woman murmured to another. I heard his mother has early dementia, replied her friend. And he's drowning in debt. I remained silent, focusing on slicing vegetables with mechanical precision. Difficulties didn't excuse negligence. Hardship wasn't a free pass to endanger children. The bell jingled, and Seo Woo entered alone. My heart leapt at the sight of her. So small against the winter landscape outside. She ordered nothing, just sat at the counter and accepted the hot soup I placed before her. She drank it slowly, her eyes downcast, before leaving without a word. That evening, I pulled open the calculator drawer and removed an old voice recorder I'd kept for years. The plastic was worn smooth from use. I tested the battery, listening to the soft whir of the mechanical parts inside. Some truths needed to be documented. Some battles required preparation. And I was preparing for war. The knife continued chopping vegetables, its rhythm steady against the cutting board. But my resolve was hardening with each slice. The clock on the wall ticked methodically as I pressed the record button on my phone's voice recording app. The digital beep sounded different from my old recorder. Crisper, more definitive. Like my resolve, I typed out a text message to the homeroom teacher, requesting a meeting. My fingers hovered over the send button for just a moment before pressing it firmly. No turning back now. The evening air bit at my cheeks as I waited in the alley near Do-yoon's apartment building. When he appeared, I stepped out from the shadows, startling him. His delivery bag hung limply from his shoulder, and he looked exhausted. What about the children's dinner? I asked without preamble. No time for pleasantries when children's welfare was at stake. Do-yoon shifted his weight, his eyes darting around like trapped animals. They're doing fine, he replied, but his trembling hands betrayed him. No matter how steady his voice, his body spoke the truth. I caught a glimpse of his phone screen when a notification lit up. A message from Bucheon Street, Mary's hospital about caregiving schedules. Another notification showed a banking app with a balance in red. So it was true about his mother's condition and his financial troubles. If money is the issue, I can help, I said, keeping my voice level. But the children cannot be left outside at night. That is non-negotiable. His face darkened, a flash of anger breaking through the fatigue. Don't interfere in our family matters, he snapped, the words cutting through the cold air between us. I didn't flinch. I'd anticipated this response. Before he could say more, I turned and walked away, already planning my next move. The Sosa Bandong Administration Welfare Center had child counseling services. I would make an appointment first thing tomorrow. At home, I retrieved my daughter's old tablet from the bottom drawer of my dresser. The battery was dead, but after charging, it came to life with a soft chime. I navigated to the KakaoTalk backup, searching for conversations between my daughter and Do-yoon from before she left. There it was, evidence in plain text. Taking care of the kids again today, he'd written, repeatedly pushing childcare responsibilities onto my daughter. Even when it was his turn. As I scrolled through the messages, a photo caught my eye. A notice about a broken CCTV camera in their apartment building. Dated December 3rd. I saved it immediately, adding it to my growing collection of evidence. Piece by piece, I was assembling the truth. Not for revenge, but for protection. The children deserved better, and I would ensure they received it. The tablet screen illuminated my determined face in the dark room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but I was prepared to face them all. The social welfare office smelled of disinfectant and old paper. Mi Park, the social worker assigned to our case, had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. The ticking wall clock marked each moment of our first consultation with metronomic precision. "Thank you for coming in today, Ms. Jang," Na said, her voice warm but professional. She opened a folder containing notes from her preliminary investigations. The homeroom teacher's statement was first, "Co Wu frequently falls asleep in class. She appears to go to bed very late." The words were stark against the white paper, each one a small indictment. Na reviewed the Buchian child protection officer's checklist, making notes with a blue pen that scratched softly against the paper. "We've gathered statements from neighbors," she continued, flipping to another page. Bok Nyeo from the laundry shop had provided a detailed account of the children's late-night presence outside the apartment. A food delivery driver confirmed seeing them alone on multiple occasions. "We've also verified Mr. Han's situation," Na said, her tone softening slightly. "His mother is in the early stages of dementia, requiring significant care. And there are substantial financial difficulties." The room seemed to shrink around me as I absorbed this information. Part of me felt compassion for Do-yoon's struggles. Caring for an ailing parent while drowning in debt would crush anyone's spirit. But another part, the grandmother in me, remained resolute. "I understand his circumstances," I replied, folding my hands in my lap to keep them from trembling. "But understanding doesn't change the fact that the children are being neglected." Na nodded, her expression serious. "You're absolutely right. Our principle is always to prioritize the children's welfare, regardless of the circumstances." She introduced me to Sang Yun Yu, a lawyer from the Legal Aid Foundation who would help organize the evidence and develop a strategy. He wore rectangular glasses and spoke with deliberate precision. "We need to arrange all the evidence chronologically," he explained. "Pharmacy receipts, school records, phone call logs. These daily life proofs often tell the most compelling story." I closed my snack shop early that day to gather everything I had collected. Spreading the documents across my kitchen table, I began organizing them by date and significance. Each piece was a pixel in the larger picture of neglect I was constructing. As I worked, my phone buzzed with a message from Do-yoon. "Stop threatening me with reports or you'll regret it." I placed the phone screen down on the table, refusing to let fear derail me. The message only confirmed that I was on the right path. Outside my window, the winter sun was setting earlier each day, painting the sky in muted oranges and purples. I thought of Co Wu and Co Rin, wondering if they were watching the same sunset, if they were warm, if they had eaten dinner. The clock continued its relentless ticking, reminding me that each moment mattered. Time was not on my side, but determination was. The family counseling center's conference room felt unnaturally quiet. Only the wall clock's second hand made any sound, its ticking unnervingly loud in the silence. We sat around a polished table, Do-yoon on one side, me on the other, with Na and Sang-yun flanking us like referees in a boxing match. Do-yoon's leg bounced nervously under the table. He looked worse than before, unshaven, dark circles beneath his bloodshot eyes. Part of me ached for him, but my sympathy had clear boundaries. I placed a folder on the table and silently slid it toward the center. Inside were printouts of the KakaoTalk message backups, each one highlighted and dated. Na opened it first, her expression remaining professionally neutral as she reviewed the contents. The homeroom teacher had provided attendance records showing Co Wu had been late 7 times in the past month alone. The data appeared on the projection screen in cold, indisputable numbers. "Let's look at the timeline," Sang-yun suggested, bringing up a comparison of the pharmacy prescription times and the children's recorded return times. The discrepancies were immediately apparent, with gaps of hours between when Do-yoon claimed to pick up the children and when they actually arrived home. Na shared photos from her home visit assessment, the children's thin clothing, timestamped images of them returning to the apartment building late at night. Each piece of evidence landed like a stone in the silent room. Do-yoon's shoulders slumped further with each revelation. Finally, he lowered his head, his voice barely audible when he spoke. "My mother wanders at night. I can't watch both. I just can't be in 2 places at once." The pain in his voice was genuine. But so was the neglect his children had suffered. This wasn't about punishing him, it was about protecting Seo Woo and Seo Rin. I can help with your mother's care, I offered, my voice softer than I'd intended. Let me take the children for now. Na nodded approvingly. I suggest temporary custody for Ms. Jang, with scheduled visitation rights for you, Mr. Han. This arrangement would give you time to address your mother's care needs properly. Do-yoon's hands clenched into fists on the table. I'm not going to let them be taken from me, he said, his voice cracking with emotion. They're all I have left. I understood his fear of loss. Hadn't I experienced the same when my daughter left? But this wasn't about him or me. It was about two vulnerable children, caught in a situation they couldn't control. This isn't permanent, Sang-yeon explained gently. Think of it as giving yourself space to stabilize your situation. As the meeting concluded, I made my decision. We would file for family litigation, a formal request for guardianship and custody, with an emergency temporary custody order. The path ahead would be difficult but necessary. The clock continued its relentless ticking. As we gathered our documents and prepared to leave, time moved forward, whether we were ready or not. The sound of rice being washed in cold water was the only noise in my closed snack shop. The rhythmic swishing created a meditative backdrop to my racing thoughts. Was I doing the right thing? Was this truly the best path forward? These questions echoed in the emptiness around me. I dried my hands on a kitchen towel and looked out the window at the quiet street. The legal papers Sang-yeon had prepared sat on my counter, the formal language outlining custody arrangements, visitation schedules, and responsibilities. My signature would set everything in motion. The weight of this decision pressed on my shoulders. I was no longer just a grandmother hoping to protect her grandchildren. I was becoming their guardian in every sense of the word. The responsibility was enormous. I closed the shop early and took a detour through Sangdong Lake Park. The winter air nipped at my face as I purchased 3 steaming hot buns from a vendor. Finding a bench overlooking the frozen lake, I waited. Na arrived with Seo Woo and Seo Rin, their small hands tucked into mittens that seemed too large for them. They approached cautiously, like wary cats uncertain of a stranger's intentions. But I wasn't a stranger. I was their grandmother, even if time had made me unfamiliar. I brought something warm to eat, I said, holding out the paper bag. Careful, they're still hot. We sat together on the bench, blowing on the buns to cool them. Slowly, I noticed their rigid shoulders beginning to relax. Seo Rin even smiled when the sweet bean filling surprised her, expecting the savory pork she was used to. As they ate, I thought again of Do-yoon's situation. The hospital receipts and caregiving logs Na had shown me painted a clear picture of his struggles. His mother's condition was deteriorating, requiring around-the-clock attention. The overdue bills piling up on his counter told the rest of the story. Still, understanding his hardship didn't change the reality. The children needed proper care. They deserved warm meals, consistent bedtimes, and the security of knowing an adult was always present. Basic needs that weren't being met. Later that evening, I met with Sang-yeon to finalize my statement. Remember, he advised, stick to facts, not judgments. The children were alone outside at 10 p.m. is stronger than, he's an irresponsible father. I nodded, carefully rewording each sentence to reflect observable truths, rather than emotional reactions. This wasn't about vilifying Do-yoon. It was about creating a safety net for Seo Woo and Seo Rin. As I walked home through the misty winter evening, I thought of my daughter. I'll protect what you couldn't, my child, I whispered to the night air. I'll be the guardian they need now. I placed my hand against the metal shutter of my shop, feeling its coolness against my palm. The neighborhood was quiet, most businesses already closed for the night. My phone rang, startling me from my thoughts. Ms. Jang, Sang-yeon's voice came through clearly. The court date has been set. The wheels of justice were turning, slowly but surely. And I would be ready when they arrived at their destination. The family court's mediation room was smaller than I'd expected. The wall clock ticked methodically, each second, bringing us closer to a resolution. Do-yoon sat across from me, his lawyer beside him. He looked both defeated and defiant. A man drowning but still fighting the current. Sang-yeon presented our timeline of evidence with quiet confidence. Each pharmacy receipt, school record, and photograph told a piece of the larger story. I added the homeroom teacher's written statement and MI.Na's professional assessment to the growing pile of documents. The mediator, a middle-aged woman with kind but piercing eyes, reviewed everything carefully. Do you have any supplementary materials regarding the CCTV malfunction in Building 301 during the period in question? She asked, looking up from her notes. I was prepared for this. Yes, I have elevator CCTV footage from the same timeframe, plus a delivery driver's body camera recording, I replied. Sliding a USB drive across the table, Sang-Yun connected it to the room's computer, and grainy footage appeared on the screen. The timestamp read 10:38 p.m. Seo Woo and Seo Rin entered the elevator alone, their small figures dwarfed by the empty space around them. No adult accompanied them. Do-yoon's lawyer leaned over to whisper something in his ear. After a moment, he nodded reluctantly. The caregiving situation was creating immense stress, the lawyer acknowledged. My client has been overwhelmed by his circumstances. The mediator nodded, her expression sympathetic but firm. We understand the difficulties Mr. Han is facing. However, our primary consideration must always be the best interests of the children. She outlined her recommendation: temporary custody would be granted to me, with regular visitation rights for Do-yoon, contingent upon his participation in a parenting counseling program. The arrangement would be reviewed after 3 months. This is not a punishment, she emphasized, looking directly at Do-yoon. It's an opportunity to create stability for everyone involved. Do-yoon's voice trembled when he finally spoke. When can I see them? The question broke through his defensive facade, revealing the father beneath the neglect. A father who, despite his failings, loved his children. The mediator detailed a visitation schedule. Saturday afternoons, initially supervised by a counselor from the family center. I watched Do-yoon carefully as he absorbed this information. His shoulders slumped further, but he didn't object. Perhaps he recognized that this arrangement, though painful, might be best for everyone. As we prepared to leave, the mediator addressed us both. Remember, the goal is to work toward a healthy family dynamic, whatever form that may take. Outside the courthouse, winter sunshine broke through the clouds, casting long shadows across the pavement. Do-yoon paused before walking away, turning to face me. Take good care of them, he said simply, then continued down the steps alone. The legal battle was over, but the real work of healing was just beginning. The clock continued ticking, counting down to our new beginning. The crisp sound of papers being stamped echoed through the Sosa Bandong Administrative Welfare Center as I submitted the protective custody support forms. Each official seal represented another step toward stability for Seo Woo and Seo Rin. The process that had begun with a chance meeting at my snack shop was now formalized in government records. At home, I pinned the children's emotional therapy schedule from the counseling center to the refrigerator with colorful magnets. Tuesday and Thursday afternoons after school. The routine would provide structure, something they had sorely lacked. Working with MI.Na, I arranged Do-yoon's visitation calendar. Saturday afternoons, with a counselor present for the first month. I marked these days with red circles, ensuring the children understood that their father remained part of their lives. This isn't about separating you from your father, I explained as we walked to school together. It's about making sure everyone gets the help they need. Seo Woo nodded solemnly, her hand tight in mine. Seo Rin skipped ahead, already adapting to our new arrangement with the resilience only children possess. Their initial wariness had melted faster than I'd expected, revealing children eager for stability and affection. Bok Nyeo noticed the change immediately. Sister, your face has brightened, she commented as I passed her laundry shop. You look younger somehow. Perhaps she was right. The burden of worry had been replaced by purposeful action. Even the familiar smells of my snack shop, the simmering broth, the freshly steamed rice, seemed more vibrant now that I shared them with the children. In the evenings, we established new rituals. Homework at the kitchen table while I prepared dinner. Stories before bedtime. Proper winter coats for our walks to and from school. Small things that created a foundation of security. I hadn't forgotten Do-yoon's struggles. After consulting with Sang-Yun, I compiled information on caregiver support services and debt counseling resources. I passed these to Do Yoon during his first supervised visit, along with a home-cooked meal for him to take back to his mother. I'm not your enemy, I told him quietly while the children played with the counselor. We can find a better way forward for everyone. His initial hostility had softened, replaced by cautious gratitude. He was attending his mandated counseling sessions, and had arranged for additional home care assistance for his mother. Small steps, but in the right direction. One sunny Saturday, after Do Yoon's visit, I took the children to Sangdong Lake Park. The winter had begun to loosen its grip, and hints of spring softened the landscape. Seo Woo and Seo Rin ran ahead on the path, their laughter carrying back to me on the breeze. I watched them, these precious children, who had re-entered my life through such difficult circumstances. In protecting them, I had also found healing for myself. The emptiness left by my daughter's departure had been filled with new purpose. As we walked among the trees, I reflected on the journey that had brought us here. Not anger or hasty judgment, but careful documentation and precise evidence had been my tools. I had built our case not on emotions, but on facts, pharmacy receipts, school records, time-stamped images. The truth, methodically assembled. The children held hands as they walked back toward me, their faces turned up to catch the afternoon sunshine. Their steps were lighter now, unburdened by adult worries, too heavy for small shoulders. I reached out my hands to them, and they each took one, their warm fingers curling trustingly around mine. Together, we continued our walk. 3 generations connected by love and resilience. The sunshine felt warmer than it had in years. Everyone, have you ever felt loneliness and fear within your own family? Like I did? Through this experience, I learned how powerful sincerity and courage can be. No matter how late it seems, we must never give up on protecting the people we love. If you're going through something difficult, take that small first step. It's not too late. We can still be a warm shelter for someone who needs us. I'd love to hear your thoughts and stories in the comments. Your subscription and support mean so much to me. Please share this story with anyone who might need it. Stay healthy and take good care of your heart.